this way to make myself some pictures, see what they might bring. I think I made it perfectly, I wouldn't change a thing. La la la, la 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 la, la la la, welcome to my happiness, you know it makes me smile. It pleases me to have you here for just a little while we open up the spaces, try to break some chains, and if the truth is told, they will never come again. La la la, la 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 la, la la la. Welcome to my morning, welcome to my day. Yes, I'm the one responsible, I made it just this way to make myself some pictures, see what they might bring. I think I made it perfectly, I wouldn't change a thing. La la la, la 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 la.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome. Hopefully on the downward slide of this heat, but thank you for being here today. We do have air conditioning, so yay. Yeah. All right, so I just want to welcome everybody, and as you know, this doesn't happen just by magic. There's several people that are involved to make Sundays happen. So we want to thank our musicians, Sally and Jamie. We have Reverend Karen Hamilton here again with Osty, little Osty and David. Happy to see them.
He's thankful for the air conditioning.
He's thankful for, yeah, look at that coat. He's thankful for the AC too. Oh. And we've had, Nora was supposed to be platformed today, but she's in the midst of a move, so I've stepped in. I'm also board member of the week today, and youth ed. All right, but that's okay. It's all good. And I wasn't quite sure, Marilyn, will you be the honors of chaplain today?
Oh, yes.
Yeah? Okay, so we've got a chaplain today ready to support you with a supporting prayer at the end, and Marilyn does our daily word, so we've got that covered. Hospitality, we've got Mary Ellen and Laura. And Spick and Span Angels is everybody, so we can just take care of business with you when we can. Our technology director, as always, is Mark Swink. Today he has a very special assistant. Our grandson Wyatt is here. YouTuber in training, so we're happy to have you here. And I am your platform and etc. All right, let's do that heart song.
This is probably a new song for you, so maybe Jamie and I will do it once, and if you know it, just join in. Spirit of the living God, fall afresh on me. Spirit of the living God, fall afresh on me. Melt me, mold me, fill me, use me. Spirit of the living God, fall afresh on me. Now you all know it. Spirit of the living God, fall afresh on me. Spirit of the living God, fall afresh on me. Help me, mold me, fill me, use me. Spirit of the living God, fall afresh on me.
Lovely, I like that one. All right, do we have any new people here today? We have some nice sparkling faces out there. Well, with my grandson present, we did give him a red heart, and I told him we'd explain that later. So the red heart, welcome. If you are new today at Unity of Bremerton, we welcome you in the spirit of love. We want you to know, no matter where you are on your journey of faith, you are always welcomed here. We know that the world is a better place when we are willing to share our hearts. We give you this heart symbol as a symbol of the steadfast spirit that lives within each of us, and we ask you to carry this symbol as a member of this Red Heart Fellowship. Let it be a reminder that the love of God is always with you and to share your heart wherever you go. The red heart, as a symbol of fellowship in the world, can spread love one heart at a time. Let's start the movement here. And for those who are visiting us for the first time or watching us on YouTube, we ask you that you at least check in 2 or 3 more times. We always have something new and exciting and different going on. So please check us out at least more than once. Alrighty, and our Unity happenings, if you grabbed a bulletin while you came in, today we've got Reverend Karen Hamilton back with us, yay! Next Sunday, August 5th, we have Sadah Simran from Seattle with his wonderful gong. And we have Michael Gregory. He's a new musician, well, new to us. He's been around Unity for quite some time, a lot in California, has gone through, he's an ordained minister, started the classes with Unity, but I think finished up with someone else. But he plays guitar and the Native American flute. So he'll be here next Sunday, so that'll be awesome. And for those of you traveling, you'll have to catch it on our YouTube replay. There you go. And then August 12th, we have Doug Beneke and Mercedes Nicole. And of course, Thursday evenings from 7 to 8 p.m., A Course in Miracles meets here. So if you're interested, if you know some or nothing about Course in Miracles and just want to check it out, please do join us Thursday nights at 7 p.m.
We have books.
And we have books, yes. So it's there and it's awesome. Alrighty, now our board member of the week announcement. All right, it's annual membership renewal time. It's actually, we're heading up here to the deadline, so we must have, if you're here today and can complete the form, if you haven't already, please do so and turn it in today. The cutoff will be the 31st of this month. We'll have our annual meeting in October, and we will be creating the roster and the sign-in for being able to vote based on the membership forms submitted as of July 31st. So if you haven't done that, please do so. We do want to remind you, we are live streaming our service. We ask that you keep conversation down because it is being picked up, especially during the candle lighting and paper burning. Also, please be sure your cell phones are off or on vibrate. Let's see, we want to remind you their prayer request forms are in the backs of the chairs. You can fill those out, put them in the box up here. You can put them in the offertory bag as it comes around, and our chaplains will take care of that for you. Unity of North Kitsap has a weekly meditation. Thursday, August 2nd from 7 to 8 p.m. is Drumming Circle Meditation. Prayer and meditation around one large community drum. Remember the biblical verse, when 2 or more are gathered in his name. Yes, magical things can occur when we gather together. Come just as you are with a desire to express the prayers of your heart. Through the amplification of togetherness as one, our invocations can multiply exponentially. Join Walter Muller in the Fellowship Hall at Faith Episcopal in Poulsbo. Our craft fair rummage sale is set for Saturday, November 17th. So for those who have signed up, please start thinking about what you would like to share or start crafting for that event. We will have a meeting here next Sunday after service to kind of start the planning and coordination of that event. So if you can attend that, please do. And if you haven't already signed up for the craft fair and want to be a part of that, the sign-up sheet is in the fellowship area. We have other sign-up sheets there also, so check them out. You'd never know what we might be up to, but there will be a sign-up sheet in the fellowship area for you to sign up. Minute Fest is coming up on September 8th. Our own Joe Zukakis lives very near the event, actually walking distance right down the road. So he's offering his front yard for us to have a yard sale and take advantage of all the foot traffic that'll be happening at Minute Fest. Yay, that could be a very good opportunity. He's going to coordinate that event. I do have a sign-up sheet out in the fellowship area, so if you have goods that you want to donate for sale, and real good stuff, not necessarily Goodwill stuff, but good stuff, If you want to be there to sell and then donate a portion of the proceeds to Unity, that'd be awesome. Or if you have things that you want to just fully donate for us to try to sell in his yard sale, we're going to coordinate that with Joe. So if you're interested, please sign up on the sheet. We'll start organizing that as it gets closer, but it's like a good opportunity with the foot traffic and everything. So that was really nice of him to offer. And if you have any questions or suggestions or comments, please see a board member. Okay. So now we'll light the Christ candle. This candle represents the divine light within each of us. And let's read our mission statement together. We are a welcoming community supporting our mutual quest for spiritual truth. And our invocation and statement of faith. There is one presence and one power active in the universe and in my life, God the good omnipotence. All right, and now one of our favorite parts is handshakes and hugs. Please be gentle, you never know what might be hurting. And if you don't like to hug, shove out your hand, we're a huggy bunch. And when the music starts, it's time to get back to your seat.
So is this the first Sunday? No.
No, she's this is Lindy.
Okay, seen you before.
Just warm.
Maybe not, that's okay. Somebody else can tell me.
Yeah, right.
Especially appreciated.
Oh, yes, yes.
Good morning. You too.
Good morning. I'm very well. I did. I made it back last. It wasn't all that bad. Anytime my mother was lovely. You won't always get to do that.
Oh, no,
so
I
share.
didn't. I didn't this year either. No, I haven't been.
You're gonna get some.
Okay, yeah. Good morning. I'm Barbara. I'm Lindy. Lindy, nice to meet you. Just glad to be here. I have a lot.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, that's music.
Lord, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true. With thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you. Lord, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true. With thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you.
Today's daily word is giving, but before I read it, there was one sentence from yesterday's daily word that just, you know, we say that about the still small voice. This voice was shouting. It's one of the sentences in yesterday's daily word. I even underlined it. Any seeming challenges are precursors to blessings. So I look for the good in every situation. I just love that. Seeming challenges are precursors to blessings. So I'll look for the good in everything. So there. Today's daily word is giving. In giving, I open to my highest purpose. The prayer of St. Francis tells us, "For it is in giving that we receive." The simple act of sharing with someone opens my heart, creating an awareness of the energetic link between that person and myself. Every living thing is connected through the allness that is spirit. The carbon dioxide the plants need to survive is created in me, while the oxygen I need to breathe comes from the plants. Today I look around and allow myself to see all the ways I am contributing to the world and to realize all the world gives back to me in exchange. In giving, I take part in the divine flow of life. The more I give, the more my life receives, and the more expansively I express my divinity. From Proverbs 18, verse 16. A gift opens doors. It gives access to the great. Today, in giving, I open to my highest purpose, and God blesses us.
Day by day, day by day.
You all know this song, so help me sing, please. Should know that. See your brother standing by the road, heavy load from the seas he's your sister standing by the way. Just stop and say, you're the wrong way. You got to try a little kindness, just show a little kindness, just shine your light for everyone to see. And if you try a little kindness, then you'll overlook the blindness of the narrow-minded people, of the narrow-minded street. Don't walk around out and out with that big hand. That's the kindness that you show every day. Without someone along their way. You got to try a little kindness, just show a little kindness, just shine it out for everyone to see. And if you try a little kindness, then you'll overlook the blindness of the narrow-minded people, of the narrow-minded streets. You got to try a little kindness, just show a little kindness, just shine your light for everyone to see. And if you try a little kindness, then you'll overlook the blindness of the narrow-minded people, of the narrow-minded streets.
There we go. Good morning. See some familiar faces. It's good to be back. So how many of you had the opportunity to watch the royal wedding on May 19th? So I wasn't really excited or interested. Can I actually take this off? About it. And that particular weekend, I was up at Mount Rainier at a women's retreat. And so later that morning, I walked into one of the bedrooms and I noticed a group of women that were kind of huddled together, and they had their smartphone and they were watching the royal wedding. And so then I kind of walked over and peeked, behind them, and I saw the very Reverend Michael Curry was giving the sermon. And he's African American. He's the first Episcopal African American minister, so for all of the United States. And I was really intrigued because, as you know, I went to Unity Urban Ministerial School, and for the first year I was the only white person. It's an inner city, and all of the other students were African American, and I really gained a love and appreciation for their oratory skills, their ability to give a sermon. So I was really curious about, what he would be speaking and saying to a world audience. So when I got home, I YouTubed it and I watched it, and the hairs were standing on the end of my arms, and I watched it 3 times. It was that good. So the Reverend Curry, he was speaking about love, and he actually started it off with this scripture from the Song of Solomon, Song of Songs. This book is actually banned in some Bibles for some faiths, and fortunately Unity has not banned it. One of my favorites. Set me as a seal upon your heart, as a seal upon your arm. For love is stronger than death, passion fierce as the grave. Its flashes are flashes of fire, a raging flame. Many waters cannot quench love, neither can floods drown it. So he started with that, and he gave some pretty interesting stories, but what I really liked and appreciated
was when he started sharing some profound insights by a mystic, a Jesuit priest, and a world-famous scientist, Pierre Teilhard de Chardin. Are any of you familiar with him? So his insight was that fire, to a great extent, is what made our civilization possible, right? The discovery and the harnessing of fire was actually one of the greatest technological discoveries of mankind in human history. Fire made it possible to cook food, thereby averting the spread of disease. Fire made it possible for people to keep warm, so they were able to migrate to northern climates. Fire made possible the Bronze Age, the Iron Age, and the Industrial Revolution, right? If you drove here this morning, you did so partly because of harnessed fire. If you've ever been on an airplane, you have flown due to a controlled, slow burn of fire. So fire has made it possible for us to text, to tweet, to email each other, and to communicate. It brings us together in so many ways, right? So Reverend Curry then ended with this quote: "The day will come when, after harnessing space, the winds, the waves, and gravitation, we shall harness for God the energies of love. And on that day, for the second time in the history of the world, we will have discovered fire." So that just really, I had goosebumps when he read that. And I had heard it before, but for some reason it just really had an impact. And I was captivated. And I had so many questions. I had more questions than answers. And Dave's laughing. I'm like, well, how is love like fire? And how could we discover it and harness it? How can we fan the flame of fire? And so for the last 2 months, I have been researching Teilhard de Chardin to find out what his understanding was about love. So, love is a raging flame that never dies. And that's something that all mystics and prophets, seers, great teachers agree upon. And I wanted to share one example for you. How many of you are familiar with Baal Shem Tov? He was born in 1698. He was a rabbi. He is a mystic from the Jewish faith. He was born on the border between the Ukraine and Poland. And so the little village that he grew up in was sometimes part of Ukraine, sometimes part of Poland. As you might recall, the Jews were very poor in that area, and his parents were the poorest of the poor. In fact, they both died by the time he was 5 years old. And so he was raised by the community. He was kind of passed around. As he got a little bit older, he loved to spend time in the woods by himself. And so he would often be wandering and just resting or walking out in the woods. And they said that one day, a mysterious man appeared, an elderly gentleman who began teaching him. And nobody had any idea who he was or where he came from. But on a regular basis, he would teach this young boy, and he did so for several years. And then, as mysteriously as he appeared, he disappeared. And at this point, the village realized that this young boy had a gift. And so they placed him with their rabbi, and he lived with that rabbi from that point on. So his real name was Israel, but he was given the name of Baal Shem Tov, but the nickname, or the name that he mostly went by, is the Besht. So he was a young person that was really filled with love. And on his 16th birthday, he claimed that the prophet Elijah visited him and actually told him that the prayers of these poor, simple people and the love and the faith which they offered these prayers really rose into the higher realms, and that angels and the power and presence, God really appreciated these prayers, and Elijah showed the best the results of these prayers. And so as a result, he focused not on the Torah. He didn't teach the Torah to the people, but he taught them prayer and singing because he saw the effect of it. So that was another issue that they were, that was a problem for them. Because they were so poor, they really couldn't afford the time to study the Torah, and they didn't have like the acclaimed teachers of the Torah. So they were really looked down upon by other Jews that were not as poor as they were. So the story goes that he was 16, 17, 18, and the people just really felt his love and trusted him. So he was called, whenever there was a dispute in any of the neighboring towns even, they would ask him to settle the dispute and to resolve it for them. They trusted him that much. And so his reputation started spreading. And about 3 days from their village, 3 days walk, was another rabbi who was a little bit more affluent, named Ephraim of Brody. And he was sure, this young boy, he questioned him. He was sure he must be a fraud. And he determined that he was going to show that he was a fraud. So he made the trip 3 days to come visit him. He was around him for only just a short period of time, and he was so taken by his love that right then and there on the spot, he promised him his only daughter's hand in marriage. Right then and there. Unfortunately, as he was traveling home, he passed away. So he wasn't able to relay to his daughter or his wife what had happened. And so a little while later, the Best made the trip. He walked there to claim his bride. And when he showed up, he was dressed in rags. It was in the middle of winter, and he had no shoes. He didn't own a single pair of shoes. He had wrapped his feet with rags to walk through the snow. So he was a skinny, scrawny young man. He was 18 at the time. And the mother was like, not only no, but you know the word. And her brothers were like, no way. And she just, I think her name was Chana, and she could feel the love that he exuded. And she said, yes, I'll marry you. And the family said that they would disown her if she married him. And they did. So the two of them leave together, and they're married in a neighboring village. She said that in the evenings, he would tell her how he longed to be with God and to spend time with God. And so he would go into a room by himself where he would pray for hours. And sometimes he would pray all through the night, she said. But what would happen is he would start praying, and if she went into the room and kind of peeked or looked at him, he would be sweating, and if she touched his skin, it would be burning. And he called it the burning, and that was a sign that he was in a state of ecstasy, that his soul was communing with angels and with the divine. So the Best said that this love intelligence, the power of love, was like sap in a tree. And just like the limbs of the tree are the pathways through which the life-giving God love energy would flow, that this love intelligence would flow through our bodies. And I thought that was interesting because so many mystics compare the love energy to sap in a tree. And I actually looked up the Hebrew definition for the word sap, and I was amazed. It literally means burning energy and fire. So love is a fire. Love is a raging flame that endures forever. So I'd like to share with you a little bit about Teilhard de Chardin and his ideas about love. Osti's listening. As a child, he had a lot of mystical experiences, and they would occur when he was out in nature. So he says that as he was out in nature, he would just be noticing the magnificence and the beauty, and it would just wash over him, and that veil of separation would begin to diminish. How many, we've had those experiences, right? Especially in the summer in this area, on a mountain, on the water. So he had a number of mystical experiences like that. During World War I, he worked as a stretcher bearer for the war, during the war for the Army. So he was about 20, 21 during that time, and his job was to carry the wounded and the dead on a stretcher to where they could receive attention and help. And he said that he would look into the eyes of the wounded, and on numerous occasions he would be looking and he would notice this unusual light in their eyes. And it always happened just shortly before they would pass away. So he really, connected with that energy, the spirit energy. So he became a Jesuit priest for the Catholic Church, and he was also a scientist. So he was combining science with theology and coming up with some amazing ideas. So he was banned by the Catholic Church, right? They told him they did not want him teaching, and his writings they hid. It actually has not been that long since they have been released. He died in 1955. They sent him to the furthest place they could where he wouldn't be influential, to China, into a remote area of China. And there he made a famous discovery. Does anybody know? He discovered Homo erectus and the Peking man. He found skulls from ancient, they call it the Peking man, and it's a very large collection. So he, like I said, his writings are now coming to the forefront, and the Catholic Church claims him. They're realizing the wisdom that was behind them. So, above anything else, he said, love is energy. It's not a feeling. I mean, you might have a feeling as a result, but love is the most powerful form of energy. And as I was thinking about that, I had this realization that there's really two different kinds of energy. So the first kind of energy that we're most familiar with is energy where to harness the energy, you have a destruction of matter, right? So this energy is freed as you actually destroy the matter, and then it can be put into service. So like little explosions of petrol produce energy to drive a car, or the destruction of atoms to produce atomic energy. And it doesn't matter if it's coal or what you're using, there's a form of destruction that takes place, and then we're capturing that energy. So just imagine for a moment if there was a source of energy that was opposite, that was actually constructive to life in all ways. And instead of explosions, there would be a blossoming out of atomic power. And it's not that difficult, right? Because like an acorn seed, that's how an acorn seed operates. When it's planted, it's actually a constructive bomb. It's the visible, so when it grows into an oak tree, that is the visible result of slow explosions or blossoming outs of energy. So love in all ways is a constructive energy. Every aspect of love builds, it uplifts, and it edifies. And Teilhard said that it was the driving force of all evolution. He said, the most powerful energy that we hold in our hands and in our heart is our ability to cherish, to value, and delight in things. To be passionately concerned, to be involved, and to be enchanted by life. To desire to release our creative potential and to make the world a better place. He said, learning to love is what our human life is all about, because that is what God is all about. So Talliard really wanted us to make a radical shift in how we thought of love. He wanted us to think of it as an energy that we could harness and use. And he suggested that we think of it in terms of fire. So he came up with what he thought was the law of love. And I'm going to say it and then I'll explain it. So he said, the law of love is the law of attraction, connection, complexity, consciousness. ACCC. So attraction, right? Connection, complexity, and consciousness. So the way this works is the power of love attracts things together at every level of the universe. So whether it's one of the smallest elements we know are quarks, and they're attracted together to make a proton, right? Protons and electrons are attracted together to make an atom. Atoms are attracted together, and then they make, when they are attracted, they make new compounds, right? There's a chemical reaction, and then a new compound is created. So, for example, table salt is what two elements are?
Sodium and chloride.
And chloride, and both of them are toxic and dangerous, harmful by themselves, right? But when they come together, they form a new entity and something that's healing for our body. It's a preservative. It tastes good. There's so many properties and so many beneficial uses. So things are attract together, they connect, they make a connection, and now he said whenever anything makes a connection, then it gets complicated. So there's some complexity, right? So I have a son who has been single for over 20 years, and he's getting married in a couple weeks. His life is going to be more complicated. So there's this complexity that enters in, and then in order to resolve that, you have to have an increase of consciousness, right? So that's why Talliard said it's attraction, connection, complexity, and then consciousness, the law of love. All right. He says that love is creative, and he said that it must evolve. So innate in that energy is this desire that it has to evolve and become more. And you can actually find, like in relationships, if you're not increasing your love somehow and your relationship becomes stagnant, it actually can turn and become toxic, right, over time. So he said, in every case, the law of love says that love wants to expand and grow and become more. And it always is outwardly self-expressive. So it wants to express itself outside of itself in tangible ways. So the next thing that I want to share is the stages of love. So he actually developed 4 stages of love. And he said, and remember he passed away in 1955, but his opinion was that humankind, we are exploring love on the level of cave people, caveman. You know, we're using it to stay warm and cook our food, but it's like capable of so much more. And so he came up with these 4 stages, and he came up with these by watching in nature and by observing his relationship with God, with the divine, and observing human relationships to come up with this theory. And he says there's 4 stages, and so I'm going to share them and then I'll explain it. So he says the first stage is giving gifts. The second stage is personal presence. The third stage is cooperative interaction. And then the fourth and highest stage that he came up is mutual indwelling. Okay? So giving, I'm going to give you a couple of examples. So giving gifts. Say I become aware that my grandson Austin is interested in playing chess. And so I go out and I buy him a chess set and I mail it to him. I'm operating at the first stage of love, right? I'm giving gifts to Austin. The second stage is personal presence. So if I was operating at this stage of love, I would buy the chess set and I would either drive or fly to Twin Falls, Idaho, and I would personally give him this chess set. All right? The third one, cooperative interaction. So then, at this stage, I am regularly playing chess with Austin. So we're setting up regular times and we're cooperating with each other and we're regularly playing chess together. The fourth level is mutual indwelling. So this is the level, if I'm operating at this level, where not only are we playing chess together, but I am disclosing and sharing with Austin my most secretive, deepest strategies for winning. Right? And Austin is sharing with me his deepest, most secret strategies for winning. So we're sharing those. That's mutual indwelling. So that's a simple example. Another example, I've noticed in our area, there's really an increasing problem with homelessness. I don't know if you see that out of here. We have a little park in our neighborhood. We actually had homeless people sleeping in this park, just a block from our home, which was quite surprising. So at the first stage of love, Dave and I would get out our checkbook and we would write a check to a local organization to help with homelessness. So that's giving gift. The second stage of love, we would actually show up and help, like at a soup kitchen, and we would help prepare meals. Or we would fix something in our home and then go take it. Or we might bring blankets, but we would actually be interacting with the homeless community. The third stage of love, cooperative interaction, would be, we would really be getting to know these people and interacting on a more profound level. So for example, my son Matt, when he was in high school, he would pick up homeless people that he would see and he would take them to the Wendy's and he would buy them a meal and he would listen to them and he would hear their story, he would share his story. I remember times when I would drive with him and he would point them out and say, oh, that's Charlie over there. This and this, that's what happened to Charlie. So he knew their stories, and on one occasion, he brought one home for dinner. And I said, Matt, you can take them out, but you cannot bring them home with you. I have this rule. So taking him out, that would be cooperative. The mutual indwelling is where we actually would go sleep with them and camp out with them, or we would invite them to live with us in our home. And I had that rule, and I actually broke it myself. On one occasion, a number of years ago, I met a homeless woman who had a job. She was escaping an abusive relationship, and she was just living in a motel, and she was pregnant. And so I actually just felt compelled right then and there to have her get her suitcases, and I brought her home, and she lived with us for 6 months so she could save to prepare for her baby. So that would be an example of mutual indwelling. And Jesus taught in the book of John. God is love, and he that dwelleth in love dwelleth in God, and God in him or her. So developing that close love relationship and being aware of the power and presence of God, and allowing that to dwell within you. We know that we are dwelling in God and God is dwelling in us. And that would be that fourth level of mutual indwelling. So those 4 stages again were giving gifts, personal presence, cooperative interaction, and mutual indwelling. So in conclusion, I just want to express the truth that no matter what stage of love we're operating from, and it varies, depending on the circumstance, it doesn't matter whatever stage we are operating from, we are known and loved intimately. Every whit of us. In fact, the hairs on our head are numbered, they're counted, they're known to this power and presence, God. So each one of us, each one of you, is an irreducibly unique expression of the love intelligence, the beauty intelligence that creates and sustains all of life. You are an irreducibly unique expression, a constellation, really, or a configuration of love energy that lives in you, as you, and through you. And we each have a God-given or a purpose that has been engraved on the very fleshy tablet of our heart. In fact, it's engraved on and encoded on every cell of our being in the DNA. And that is to express love, to allow love to move us so that we are using that energy to change the world, to change ourselves, and to change, the scriptures say, heaven and earth. So we each have a purpose, and that is to express that love, and in the process, evolution takes place. And who knows, maybe someday we will evolve into Homo amore universalis, a new level of being that is capable of harnessing love to an even greater extent. So, co-creating through our own embodied lives, bringing divine love more fully into every aspect of our life and into the world, the planet, that is our purpose. And it might take a little bit of time. At the very least, it is probably going to take the rest of our life, right? The day will come when, after harnessing space, the winds, tides, and gravitation, we shall harness for God the energies of love. And on that day, for the second time in the history of the world, mankind will have discovered fire. And we will make of this old world a new earth and a new heaven. And so it is. Amen.
My legs are short, so now my knees slip down that way. So I'm on my toes.
Can we do a meditation song? We just go right into meditation. Okay. I'd just like to invite you to prepare for a time of meditation so we can allow this idea to really permeate our entire being. So I invite you just to relax, possibly, sit up a little bit straighter, put your feet flat in front of you, And just begin to notice your breath. Allow your attention to move from your mind, from your head, into your heart, your chest area. I invite you to even put your hand on your heart, if you'd like. And know that as our awareness drops and settles into our heart area, love is duty-bound to open and expand this area. I am aware. I am aware of love. I am aware of the presence of love. Let God as love be known in me now. I trust in this love, and I trust in my life that as I tune in, as I tap in to my true nature, to my true self as an experience, as an expression of this love, the love within me is magnified and multiplied. That which is not love is released from my experience, released from my awareness. My body, my being, my heart, and my mind are in unison, are working together, anchored in love, anchored in the love experience. Right here and right now, I call forth the power of harmony, the presence, the field of infinite possibilities that I step into. I open my mind and all of my relationships to divine love. So I cease worry. I cease concern. I am aware of abundant love. If there is anything to forgive, if there is any fear to release, if there is any sadness within my being or within my mind, known or unknown to me, I simply invite in this love. I lift it all up to love. I show up in love. I show up in love. May my words, my thoughts, my expressions be ever unfolding according to beauty, in perfect alignment with peace and wisdom. I am saturated in love. I cannot separate myself from this love. As I tune into that truth, I become a match for love. I have all it takes to create, to sustain, to maintain, to magnify healthy relationships, holy communications, satisfying peace. My heart responds to this knowing. I follow the guidance and wisdom given to me, known through me. And I begin to dance my dance freely. I begin to sing my song. I begin to really, deeply, truly nourish myself and to know myself as love. And as I do, I attract more love into my life. I focus on giving of this love and this light that is in me. So if my mind gives into temptation of thinking that I need to have, that I need to get, of not understanding divine timing, I simply breathe into patience. I breathe into love. And I remember that this love is active and present in my life, continually showing me, growing me, calling me to be more and more love, to see more love. As I step into giving freely, completely, my whole being, my full life force, into the power and into the presence of love, the presence I was born from, the presence I exist from. And I meditate upon this presence within the sacred sanctuary inside, within the divine flow of love, in the silence. So I invite you to bring your awareness back into this room, into this space, and to allow this energy of love to reconfigure the energy patterns of your being, and know that you are this love. And when you're ready, I invite you to open your eyes and to smile. Welcome back. So I invite you to turn to your neighbor and let them know how much you love them.
How was it? Yeah.
Yes, but if you're super pissed off, you could easily say I hate you, and it would feel just absolutely natural. That's the odd thing about that. Well, at least with me, that's odd. Right.
This is a song that you probably all know, so sing on the chorus, or any part of it. There's a bright golden haze They don't turn their heads as they see me ride by. But a little brown maverick is winking his eye. Oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day. I've got a beautiful feeling. Everything's going my way. All the sounds of the earth are like music. All the sounds of the earth are like music. The breeze is so busy, it don't miss the tree. And an old weeping willow is laughing at me. Oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day. I've got a beautiful feeling. Everything's going my way. Oh, what a beautiful day.
Thank you, that was nice. All right, now it's time for our offertory and candlelight blessings. As you are preparing your tithes and love offerings today, think about how blessed you are, and as you are writing your check or giving your gift, send your blessings out.
I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. Grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed.
Alrighty, and let's see, Marilyn. And and together, I give willingly, joyfully, and lovingly, knowing that God is the constant source of my supply. I give with graciousness and receive with gratitude. All right, and now it's good news. Anybody have good news? Somebody's got to have good news. I have good news. My grandson Wyatt is here. Yay! Brenda, can I see your hand?
good news. My daughter Megan, who was raised in this church, became engaged in Italy.
Oh,
About a week ago.
well, congratulations, Megan, finding love in Italy.
No, she brought him with her.
Oh, well, there you go, even better. There we go, they found it together in Italy. Oh, what a romantic place. That's lovely. Anyone else?
The weather's gonna cool down a little.
Yes, the weather's gonna cool down by, Wednesday is what they're saying now, so yay, thank you.
I have good news. I absolutely love Pomeranians because I've always had Pomeranians.
Yes, so Austy's here to bring love to everybody, this beautiful puppy.
I have good news.
You do, Candace.
Last Monday, I was able to go horseback riding.
Yes, beautiful. Anybody? Anybody else? All righty. Well, I promised Wyatt's mom that he wouldn't come up front on camera. So we're going to bless him toward the back because he's still working with Grandpa on the YouTubing thing. So let's do the blessing that way. All right. Wyatt, we love you, we bless you, and we appreciate you just the way you are. All right. And Marilyn is here. If anybody would like any supportive prayer, if you've got something that you need some assistance with prayer, being positive, or just something uplifting to help you through a challenge, she's here to help. So just let her know. And let's sing our peace song.
Do you wanna sing? There, and I'll hold the hands on them. There we go. Hey, that works. In a complete circle, but.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as creator, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. The light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, the presence of God